Madam Lata Ramadas has been a devotee of Sri Sadguru Ma.
Swami Brahmaika Rupinya Padayo Pranatavayam. At the outset, I offer my humble pranams to the lotus feet of Sri Sadguru Ma and Sri Swamiji for giving me this opportunity to stand here today and share my thoughts and learnings of Bhasa's Pratimanatakam, and my salutations to all the scholars and devotees present here. In this holy land of Bharat, the Itihasa by Valmiki has spread far and wide. As CLR Mama just now mentioned, various saints and composers have presented their own versions of Ramayana. Different scholars have interpreted and composed their versions of Ramayana. It is said that there are close to 300 versions of Sri Ramayana in vogue, not only in India but also in the Southeast Asia. The Kambaramayanam by Kambar in the 12th century is a treatise that he wove around the original Valmiki Ramayana using his scholarly skills in Tamil. This version had the flavors of the Tamil nativity, making it more appealing and understandable to the audience he had in mind. We have the Kannada scholar Nagachandra, who composed Pampa Ramayana, and Ranganatha Ramayana in Telugu. Tulsidasa in the 16th century composed his own version of Ramayana in Avadhi Braj Bhasha, and it came to be revered as Sri Ramcharitmanas. Advaitha Ramayana, as Mama explained, was composed by Tunja Tezhuthachan in Malayalam. How can we even forget the brilliance of Kalidasa in extolling Rama in his creation Raghuvamsha? The Jains and Buddhists have their own versions of Ramayana. Even Japanese and Thai versions of Ramayana incorporate their perspectives into the grand narrative of Sri Rama's life. Each one of these above mentioned illustrious composers have viewed the varied aspects of Sri Rama's life from their prism of perception. In their respective creations of the Ramayana, each of them has depicted the aspects of Sri Rama that have deeply influenced them. Each of these versions are imbued with the author's imagination and creativity. Now, where does Bhasa fit in this multitude of Rama Kathas that have been created? Bhasa is one of the earliest and most celebrated dramatists in Sanskrit, or Sanskritam, pardon me, who lived in the 4th century BC, predating Kalidasa. Kalidasa, in his first play, Malavika Agnimitram, recollects the illustrious creations of Bhasa. Bhasa's plays were almost lost to this world until in 1913, Mahamahopadhyaya Sri Ganapati Shastri discovered manuscripts for 13 Sanskritam plays that were believed to have been authored by Bhasa. Among these plays, 6 revolve around Mahabharata, 2 relate to Ramayana, 1 relates to Krishna, and the rest on popular legends. Of the 2 plays that Bhasa created around Ramayana, Pratimanatakam and Natakam, Pratimanatakam revolves around the incidents occurring in Rama's life during the Ayodhya Kandam, Aranya Kandam. The other play, Natakam, portrays incidents drawn from Kishkinda Kandam, Sundara Kandam, and Yuddha Kandam of Ramayana. Today, I wish to discuss the 7 acts of this play in the sequence that I believe is pertinent to exploring Bhasa's interpretation of the Ramayana. To this end, I start with Act 3. As I started this exercise on a clean slate, every bit of information was fascinating and I promise the same experience to all others who join me at a similar level of understanding as me. The drama gets its name Pratimanatakam from the events that unfold in the Act 3 of the play. Pratima means statue and Natakam means drama. Thus, Pratimanatakam conceptualizes a drama unfolding around a hall of statues. Bharata, who had been residing with his uncle in Kekeya Desham for long, was returning to Ayodhya on hearing about the illness of his father. Not knowing the tragic news that awaited him in Ayodhya, he anxiously inquired about the nature of his father's illness to the charioteer. Although the charioteer knew that the king had expired, he did not disclose the news to Bharata. His evasive replies to Bharata's questions heightened the anxiety of the prince. As he approached the city, he was sent word by the preceptors to stay for a while at the outskirts of Ayodhya until the auspicious time set in. The preceptors had sent message that the constellation of Kritika had only one Nadika or 24 minutes left of it. Therefore, the crown prince was advised to wait until the constellation Rohini set in. Bharata saw a building that resembled a temple and decided to rest there. When he entered, he found himself in a hall of statues. The keeper of the statue house, or the Devakulika, told him that those statues in display were the statues of the kings of Ikshvaku race, starting from Dilipa, Raghu, Aja, etc. Aja was Dasharatha's father. The Devakulika, who did not know that he was in the presence of the crown prince Bharata, told him that all the statues were that of the deceased kings of the Ikshvaku race. Bharata was shocked to see his father's statue also displayed next to the statue of Aja. The realization dawned on him that his father had moved on to join the ancestors. He then learnt from the Devakulika about the events of Kaikeyi stopping the coronation of Sri Rama and banishing him to the forest, which resulted in the death of Dasharatha due to immense putra shoka. Bharata fainted on hearing this. When he recovered, he was outraged by the actions of his mother. Just then, the three queens, Kausalya, Sumitra and Kaikeyi, accompanied by Sumantra, the minister, the preceptors, Vasishtha and Vamadeva, arrived at the hall of statues to see the newly installed statue of King Dasharatha. On finding Bharata there, they consoled him and attempted to convince him to proceed to Ayodhya and accept the coronation. Bharata disowned his mother Kaikeyi and decided to go to the forest to plead with Sri Rama to return to Ayodhya and accept the throne. Bharata says, Tatra yasyami yatra asau vartate Lakshmana priyaha. Thither will I go where he lives, he to whom Lakshmana is dear. Na Ayodhya tam vina Ayodhya. Without him, Ayodhya is no Ayodhya. Sa Ayodhya yatra Raghava. That is Ayodhya, wherein dwells Raghava. In the other interpretations of Ramayana, we have come across a situation where Kaikeyi is portrayed as a vicious person who was instigated by her maid to stop the coronation of Sri Rama. Kaikeyi reminded Dasharatha of the two boons that he had granted her long back and demanded them then. She sought that Bharata be crowned as the king of Ayodhya and that Rama be banished to the forest for 14 years. In this Pratimanatakam spanning 7 acts, Bhasa gives a very interesting interpretation that glorifies Kaikeyi for her astute statecraft and her sacrificing nature. This plot unfolds in the Act 6. Now let's see Act 6. Bharata has set up the sequence, Bhasa has set up the sequence like this. Bharata had been keeping himself updated on the whereabouts and well-being of Sri Rama through his respected minister Sumantra. After visiting Janasthana, where Sri Rama, Sita and Lakshmana were staying, Sumantra returned to Ayodhya in a depressed and agitated state. He sought to meet Bharata immediately. He then conveyed to Bharata the news of Sita's abduction by Ravana. Bharata swooned on hearing this shocking news. When he regained consciousness, he rushed to the palace of Kaikeyi and he asks her, Sita, the wife of Sri Rama who went to the forest leaving the kingdom at your bidding, has been abducted. Is your ambition fulfilled? On account of your marriage to the mighty Ikshvaku Vamsha, the very unfortunate situation of the respected daughter-in-law of the Vamsha getting abducted has arisen. On hearing his outpouring, Kaikeyi calmly says, it's now time to disclose the fact that has been kept undisclosed until now. And she instructs Sumantra to explain the events that led to the curse that befell Dasharatha and the effect of the curse. Sumantra told Bharata that Kaikeyi had known that Dasharatha was destined to die due to Putra Shoka after being cursed by an elderly blind ascetic for accidentally killing his only son. If the curse was to take effect, it would have meant the death of Rama before Dasharatha. Kaikeyi's widowhood was imminent as it appeared due to the curse. So, Kaikeyi decided to take upon herself the blame of causing the banishment of Sri Rama to the forest, which was a lesser pain to bear for everyone concerned, thereby saving the dynasty from an impending disaster. Rama's exile from Ayodhya was adequate suffering for Dasharatha for the curse to bear fruit, and he died, unable to bear the loss of separation. On hearing this, Bharata asked Kaikeyi why she had not chosen him to send to the forest instead of Sri Rama. Kaikeyi explained that Bharata was already separated because he was living away from Dasharatha in his uncle's house. Bharata further asked her why she had to banish Sri Rama for 14 years, to which Kaikeyi admitted that she had intended to seek banishment for 14 days and in her state of delusion had blurted 14 years. Bharata, who was still unconvinced, asked his mother whether this was known to the elders. Kaikeyi explained to Bharata that it was decided in consultation with Vasishtha and Vamadeva to feign a coronation bid for Bharata, which they were sure that he would not accept. She had done all this with a singular motive of ensuring protection for Sri Rama. Bharata was then convinced and sought pardon for having insulted his mother. He decided to march with an army to fight Ravana alongside his brother Sri Rama. Thus, in Pratimanatakam, Bhasa portrays Kaikeyi differently. This is a new perspective that has been cast, which glorifies Kaikeyi for her qualities of sacrifice, devotion to husband, love towards Sri Rama, and her astuteness. The core of the plot in Bhasa's Pratimanatakam seems intended to revolve around Kaikeyi's motive in asking Dasharatha for the coronation of Bharata as her bride's price, that is the Shulka, which Dasharatha had promised while marrying her. Kaikeyi was sure that the noble Bharata would not accept the kingdom that she had demanded for him. She succeeded in her effort, first in keeping Dasharatha true to his word, and at the same time seeing that Sri Rama was crowned as the king in the end. In this manner, Bhasa sustains the viewer's interest in the proceedings throughout the play. Kaikeyi's true intention behind her seemingly abhorring act unfolds only towards the end of the play, that is, in the 6th act. Thus, this act is only next to Act 3 in importance, as it reveals Kaikeyi's hidden motive in sending Sri Rama to the forest and clears all obstacles in hindering Rama's coronation. Now let's go to the Act 1. Bharata sets the stage with the announcement of Rama's coronation by Dasharatha. In this scene, Bhasa hints to the audience about the forthcoming exile by crafting a plot where Sita's maid is displaying some bark garments to her, and Sita, intrigued, tries them on. Just then, Sri Rama enters her chamber. Rama informs Sita in a neutral manner and with no sign of disappointment that the coronation had been stopped suddenly. Just then, the chamberlain rushes in to inform the reason for stopping of the coronation. He says, the coronation had been stopped at the instance of Kaikeyi, who demanded the kingdom for Bharata and banishment of Rama to the forest for a period of 14 years. Sri Rama resolves to head to the forest immediately, abiding by the orders of his father. The chamberlain, brimming with love for Sri Rama, was consumed by anger towards Kaikeyi. But Bharata defends Kaikeyi by saying, she has just staked her claim for the kingdom that rightfully belongs to her as a marriage gift. He defends his father's action in fulfilling his promise to Kaikeyi by ordaining the throne to Bharata, who was residing in his uncle's place at that time. So he bore no responsibility for the unfolding of the events. How can I even deprive him of having his rightful kingdom, he asks. Lakshmana too was consumed by his anger towards Kaikeyi. With his bow at the ready, he vowed to punish any young woman in the world who resorted to treachery. He even taunted Sri Rama for his restraint, asking if it would not amount to absence of self-respect. In response, Rama says, O son of Sumitra, I have remained calm all along to reason out with you. So now I ask, shall I bend the bow against the father who had regard for truth? Shall I discharge an arrow against a mother who claims her own property? Shall I slay my younger brother Bharata, who is quite guiltless? Which of these three sins is agreeable to you, O angry one? Remaining cool and composed during this trying situation, Sri Rama tries to dissuade Sita from going to the forest. But Sita has made up her mind to go along with Sri Rama, and she had a well-reasoned response to every argument presented by Sri Rama. Bhasa has brought out the persuasive arguments of Sita Ma succinctly in the conversation as under. Rama says, Maithili, what do you propose to do? Sita says, why? I am surely your partner in duties. Rama, I have indeed to go alone, according to my father's orders. For that Sita says, indeed, for that very reason I will follow you. Rama says, you will have to dwell in the forest. Sita, that indeed is a palace for me. Rama, but you are as well to devote yourself to the service of your parents-in-law. For that, Sita says, for that purpose, I offer salutations to the gods, invoking the gods to keep them safe. Then all arguments were futile in convincing Sita not to go along with him to the forest. Sri Rama persuaded Lakshmana to prevail upon Sita. But Lakshmana on his part pleaded helplessness, considering the resolve of Sita Ma, which deserved praise. He says, Anucharati Shashankam Rahu Doshepi Tara. A star follows the moon even when eclipsed by Rahu. Patati cha vanavrikshe yati bhumim latacha. A creeper comes down to the ground when the forest tree that had coasted thus far falls down. Tyajati nacha karenuhu pankalagnam gajendram. The female elephant does not part or leave her consort who is stuck in mud. Vrajatu charatu dharmam bhartranathahi naryaha. So also, please allow Sita Ma to follow you to discharge her duties. Finally, when Rama helped himself with the bark garments and got ready to depart to the forest, Lakshmana pleaded to be allowed to accompany him, and I quote, "O brother, you have until now shared with me half of all the things that you had, be it garments or ornaments or garlands. How can you deprive me from having the bark garments that you have now chosen exclusively for yourself?" Sri Rama then asked Sita to persuade Lakshmana. Here the plea of Lakshmana to Sita is interesting and indeed noteworthy. He says, and I quote, he tells Sita, "You desire to be at the feet of Sri Rama and serve him. Thou shalt serve his right foot, while I shall serve his left foot." Finally, Sri Rama relented and agreed for both Sita and Lakshmana to accompany him to the forest. Thus ends Act 1. Act 2 primarily dwells on the pathetic state of Dasharatha suffering from Putra Shoka and his leaving this world. It begins with King Dasharatha being attended to by Kausalya and Sumitra. Rama, accompanied by Lakshmana and Sita, has already departed to the forest. Sumantara returns after leaving them in the forest, and Dasharatha is shattered by their departure and is lost in delusion. In a state of delirium, he has a vision of his ancestor beckoning him to join them, and then he gives up his body. Now, Act 4. Bhasa depicts the poignant moment when Bharata meets Rama in this act. Bharata, along with Sumantra, reached the hermitage where Sri Rama was residing. As Bharata requests Sumantra to announce his arrival and seeks permission to enter, his voice is overheard by Sri Rama, who tells Sita and Lakshmana that the voice resembles the booming voice of his dear father. When Lakshmana comes out of the hermitage, he found in Bharata a true resemblance to Sri Rama's moon-like face and similarity to Dasharatha's broad chest, scarred with arrow marks of valor. The conversation between Sri Rama and Bharata is brought out by Bhasa with much care to show the persuasive intent of Bharata to plead with Sri Rama to come back to Ayodhya and accept the throne, and Rama urging Bharata to go back to Ayodhya and take care of the kingdom. Bharata pleads with Rama to allow him to serve Rama in the forest following the order of birth by virtue of being older to Lakshmana. Sri Rama graciously instructed Bharata that Lakshmana would serve him in the forest while Bharata would serve him staying in Ayodhya. He explained with abundant clarity about his intention of going away to the forest as under. Rama says, "Pitur niyogat aham agato vanam na vatsa darpat na bhayat na vibhramat." I came to the forest at the bidding of my father and not, dear brother, through pride or fear or through delusion. Kulam chanah satya dhanam bravimite katham bhavan nicha pathe pravartate. Our family regards truth as its treasure. Then, how did you take to this lowly behavior? He further explained that much as he would like to accede to Bharata's plea, it would mean a disservice to their father, which would bring him disrepute. Bharata realized that he had no alternative but to return to Ayodhya. So he sought two boons: that Sri Rama would take back the throne on completion of the mandated 14 years of exile, and that Sri Rama part with his used sandals so that Bharata could take them back to Ayodhya as a representative of Sri Rama. Sri Rama agreed to the plea of Bharata and extolled Bharata as under. He says, Suchirenapi kalena yashah kinchit mayarjitam achirenaiva kalena bharatena adya sanchitam. I obtained slight fame after a long time, while Bharata has earned that eminently today just in a short time. Now, in Act 5, Bhasa builds a plot in the Aranya Kandam around the abduction of Sita. The scene takes place during the 13th year of exile. Sri Rama and Sita were discussing the conduct of the annual Shraddha for Dasharatha. Disguised as a Brahmin, Ravana arrived in the scene claiming proficiency in Manaviya Dharma Shastra, Shraddha Kalpa, etc. He prescribed the offering of a golden-hued deer to the ancestors, which would please them and enable them to ascend to Swarga. This marks Bhasa's distinctive departure from other interpretations of Ramayana. While Lakshmana was away at that time to receive the chief of the ascetics, Sri Rama went chasing a golden-hued deer magically created by Ravana. Thus, Sita found herself all alone. Ravana, who was waiting for this very moment, succeeded in abducting Sita. Here again, Bhasa portrays Sita in great dignity by not dwelling on the harsh words that she hurled at Lakshmana in desperation on hearing Maricha's fake call as brought out in Valmiki Ramayana. Once more, in Act 7, Bhasa diverges from the other versions with his imaginative approach, when he quickly winds up all strands of the wonderful tapestry that he has woven on Sri Rama's Charitam. He sets the Act 7 of the play thus. By this time, Rama, with the help of the Vanarsena, Sugriva and Hanuman, had decimated Ravana and installed Vibhishana as the king of Lanka and returned to Janasthana along with Sita, Lakshmana and others. The Pushpaka Vimana landed at Janasthana, and the sages and the rishis had been making all the arrangements for the arrival of the guests. Bharata arrived along with Shatrughna, the three queens, Sumantra, Vasishtha, Vamadeva, and an ocean of Ayodhya residents who were longing for this day of reunion. The 14 years of exile had come to an end, and at the instance of Kaikeyi, the sages who had gathered there conducted the coronation of Sri Rama. So in Bhasa's Pratimanatakam, the coronation takes place in Janasthana first. On that auspicious occasion, Sri Rama remembered his loving father, and he addressed to him, looking up at the sky, "Become contented, at least in heaven now, and cast off your dejection. What you desired to perform, that coronation, has now been performed here. Indeed, now I am the king on earth, bearing an honorable responsibility. And I have undertaken the task of protecting the people according to the sacred law." Bhasa concludes Pratimanatakam by stating that Sri Rama, accompanied by Sita, Lakshmana, Bharata and Shatrughna, the queens and ministers, departed in the Pushpaka Vimana to Ayodhya ahead of the grand coronation planned on their arrival. Bhasa possessed exceptional imagination, creativity, and a remarkable command of language. He is seen as a dramatist par excellence, and his portrayal of character emotions through simple yet fitting words is brilliant. Kalidasa himself was impressed by certain description and plots crafted by Bhasa, and incorporated them into some of his own works. In conceptualizing the Pratima Mandapa, which lends its name to the play, Bhasa has exercised his imagination and license for creativity as a dramatist. In a diamond necklace, it is difficult to select which stone shines the most brilliantly. This indeed was my predicament while I attempted to choose some of his brilliant expressions. I have chosen to conclude this presentation with the sublime Bharatavakyam, or the shloka of benediction, with which Bhasa concludes his play. Yatha Ramascha Janakya Bandhubhischa Samagataha Tatha Lakshmya Samayukto Raja Bhumim Prashastunaha. Just as Rama is reunited with Janaki and his kinsmen, so may our king, united with royal glory, rule over the earth. Now I would like to share some interesting aspects related to Pratimanatakam for the benefit of this audience. Ganapati Shastri in his book states that the existence of statue houses is not described in ancient scriptures. But from Bhasa's Pratimanatakam, where we find statues of departed kings erected in statue house and worshipped, the conclusion may be drawn that it was customary to build statue houses in the times of Bhasa. In addition to the 13 plays discovered by Sri Ganapati Shastri, another play called Yagnaphalam has subsequently come to light and has been credited to Bhasa. According to Mahamahopadhyaya Ganapati Shastri, the Chakyars of Kerala had been presenting select acts from the plays of Bhasa. The Chakyars, representing an intermediary priestly community, conduct Sanskritam dramas performances within the temple precincts known as Chakyar Kooth and Kudiyatam. On delving deeper into this matter, I came across the Nepathya's Center for Excellence in Kudiyatam. This is based out of Aluvai in Kerala. And this center conducts Kudiyatam festival every year. Only as recently as September 2023, this center had presented the third act of Pratimanatakam under the able guidance of its director, Guru Margi Madhu Chakyar, who is also a recipient of the Sangeet Natak Academy Award. Now, before I conclude, I would like to say a few words of gratitude. In this galaxy of luminous stars of great scholars who have gathered here, I stand before you as a humble devotee of Sri Sadguru Ma and Swamiji. In this august gathering of great Sanskrit scholars, I can at best describe myself as a Samskrita Abhimanini and a Samskrita Anuragini. Armed with these credentials, I have dared to present this paper at the command of our revered Swamiji. I consider this another divine leela of Sri Sadguru Ma. I am eternally grateful to Sri Sadguru Ma and Swamiji. I must also express my deep sense of gratitude to Professor Srinivasan, who gave me extensive guidance on the preparation of this paper. Thank you, sir. I have tried to present this paper to the best of my ability and seek pardon from the erudite scholars here in case there have been flaws. If there remains any merit in this paper, that fully is the manifestation of the grace of Sri Sadguru Ma and Swamiji. Once again, my thanks to Swamiji and Sadguru Ma and pranams to them, and thank you all.